Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to probably one of the longest videos I've done in my entire life. So please grab a snack, oh my god, my bra. How highly inappropriate of me. I had a bra on, I took it off. I don't know. I hate those things. I cannot believe we're about to do this. I'm not kidding when I say this is going to be my longest video of all time. So I'm going to try to make this intro extremely short. Also, these swatches might be shorter than my average swatches. If you're new to my channel and you've never seen live swatches before, it's where I'll take an eyeshadow palette or a makeup collection from any brand and I will try it all on the face. That means for an eyeshadow palette, I will try every single eyeshadow on my eyes so you can see how it applies on the eyes, the pigmentation, the blendability, all that good stuff. Whew, but today's is going to be the mother of all live swatches, you guys. We are going to be live swatching the James Charles and Morphe brushes palette. I actually love the packaging. I think it's so beautiful. I think it's just breathtaking. James looks insane on here. It's amazing, but that doesn't matter. What we care about is the eyeshadow quality. Now, I will be doing this live swatching video a little bit differently than I normally do. Normally, I just use the shadows on top of a little concealer and a little setting powder. I never use eyeshadow primer because I don't want to give the eyeshadows any extra advantage. I want to see how they perform on their own. Plus, honestly, I don't use eyeshadow primer. I only use concealer and setting powder. So for me, it's the exact same thing as primer anyway. But because James Charles did specifically mention that most of the matte shadows in this palette are pressed pigments, he claims they need to be used differently. This is the palette here. So many beautiful colors. My eyes are quaking right now. Like I was saying, because most of the mattes are a pressed pigment formula, he suggested you use an eyeshadow primer, something like a MAC Painterly Paint Pot, which I don't have, but I do have the Sigma Beauty eyeshadow sticks, and I'm telling you, this is the MAC Painterly Paint Pot in a stick form. If you hate getting your fingers dirty in the paint pots and it just gets all gross, you need to try these. The shade Persuade is just like Painterly and it's unbelievable. It lasts forever. It's tacky and thick like a paint pot, but it's just a lot easier to work with. So I'm going to be using that today. So to be completely fair, we're going to be doing one eye with the primer, one eye without the primer. I try to never do this because these videos, I won't lie, they're extremely painful for my eyes and I suffer a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. My eyes get so raw and so horrible and it's just a really hard thing to do. But you guys asked for this. I'm going to give it to you because I love you. I want you to enjoy this video and leave this video feeling completely satisfied with your decision on whether or not you need this palette. So if you guys are ready, let's do it. Let's get to, you know, destroying my face. Why not, right? It's why we're here. So like I said, we will be doing one lid with an eyeshadow base, something a little more tacky and creamy, similar to the MAC Paint Pot, but in stick form. So this will be our base lid and this will just be our nothing lid. First, starting with the shade Canvas, I am taking a flat, dense brush as that is what James Charles recommended. This is the Sigma Beauty E60 shadow brush. It's nice and firm and dense, but flat, and it packs on color so beautifully. Now applying it without the eyeshadow base. So here is Canvas, both with an eyeshadow base and one without. It, of course, is just a nude shade. It doesn't show up much, but it's good for transitions and highlight shades. The next shade we are swatching is called Ring Lights. And again, we're starting on the lid with the eyeshadow base, as well as the dry lid with no eyeshadow base. So there is Ring Light, definitely better with the base. The next shade is called So Good. And we are starting on the primer lid as we've been doing. I really actually like this shade a lot. And then, of course, popping that on the dry lid as well. I mean, so it goes without saying, with the eyeshadow base, this shadow is way better. And of course, it always will be. You know, anything with the base is always going to perform better. But this way, you can just see how it goes on both ways. It's a very pretty shade. I would probably love to use this one wet. I think it would have a really nice metallic shine. All right, so now we're getting into the mattes. We are getting into the pressed pigments. I believe James Charles said almost every matte shade in here is a pressed pigment. I did add a little translucent powder under my eyes just in case there's much fallout. I'm using, again, the large shader E60 brush from Sigma. This is just a different one. And this shade is 518, and it is a bright matte orange. I've watched James Charles' video probably 3 or 4 times now because I wanted to make sure I applied these shadows, I mean, perfectly for how he says they needed to be applied. You know, after all the kind of silly controversy I saw on social media about swatches and about rashes and hives and everything else, I just wanted to make sure I do this in the most responsible way and give the most fair live swatches. So again, I believe he said it's meant to be layered, it's meant to be packed on. Now let's pop over to the more dry lid. So this is fascinating and fascinating. It's friggin' makeup SHAE. This is why I love these live swatching videos, and I'm also so thankful for James Charles for doing the research and testing the product to see how they work the best, because if I would have tried this like I normally do with just concealer and translucent powder, this is the patchiest eyeshadow I've ever seen. Not that I've ever seen, but it's patchy as hell. It's not grabbing to the center of my eyelid, and that's how I typically do my makeup, is with concealer and setting powder. However, you can see how much better it applied over here on the eyeshadow base eye. So because James Charles gave us that warning, I'm completely fine with the fact that it's really not adhering. It's acting real funny on this eye. It's like grabbing on the edges of my lid, but it's not sticking on the center of the lid. And to be honest, this is giving me flashbacks of the Jaclyn Hill Vault palette. So now I'm wondering if I went in with a different base with the Vault palette, would I love that? Because unfortunately, I didn't like it. And I love Jaclyn, and that's not to be a hater, but I didn't like those shadows. They did not perform well. Could it be that we were all just not using the proper base? Possibly. And again, because James Charles specifically said he knows that it doesn't work that well with just concealer and setting powder, I appreciate that. I love it. I respect it. And that makes me open to using the shadow, because now I can actually see this is the difference. I'm telling you, if you know of anybody who has had problems with the James Charles palette so far, or if they're afraid of using it, please send them this video right now. Post it on Reddit, post it on Twitter. People need to see this. I mean, it's like right here in your face. This is with primer. This is without primer. I don't know if any people have seen that yet on the actual eyes. It completely changes it. Is this side perfect? No. It's a little funny in some areas, but for me, that tends to be my experience with Morphe. The next shade we're live swatching is called Rusted, and again, we're going to start on the primer eye, and I'm doing a packing and layering motion as Sir James Charles did recommend. So since our discovery on 518 on its performance without a primer versus with a primer, I have to ask, I have to wonder, do you guys think that using something like a MAC Painterly Paint Pot or this Sigma Persuade eyeshadow base, do you think using those products would change people's reaction and, you know, situation with the palette and how they felt about it? I'm definitely going to retry mine with a thicker eyeshadow base. And, you know, I just wonder if we were all just using different primer, would that have not gone so effing crazy? Like, no offense to Jaclyn, because she's done so much and I'm so proud of her, but that launch kind of went to shit. I know a lot of people are going to think I'm being shady, and I'm not, but I'm just someone who has questions. I'm just that type of person. I have a brain and I use it and I wonder and I question. And I have to question if her collaboration would have gone so much better if she had told us, you need to use a thick, tacky base and not a concealer and a setting powder. Same brush, of course. Again, this one's going on super, super patchy, more sheer, a little more kind of dry looking. It's not horrible whatsoever. It is not horrible. I don't want to give that impression. I'm sure you can see the noticeable difference of brightness and like just pop and wow. James Charles was completely right. You absolutely must use something like a Painterly Paint Pot or my Sigma Beauty Persuade eyeshadow base. It is changing the game. I don't hate this, but I love this. You know what I'm saying? Like, who doesn't want a bright, vibrant eyeshadow? I think that looks awesome. All right, so the next shade we are trying is called Halloween. This looks gorgeous. This looks so up my alley. Let's first press it into the lid with eyeshadow primer. Highly, highly pigmented. It just pops so beautifully. And now, of course, we're gonna pop it onto the lid that does not have a base. It's still applying beautifully without a tacky base, but of course the one with a heavier base pops a lot more. So here we have both applications. Of course, you can see Halloween with an eyeshadow base is just so much more prominent and just loud and vibrant, and I love this color to death. Next, we're going into the shade Wig, which looks kind of like a deeper version of So Good. Again, starting on our primed lid, just packing that on. And of course, these shadows would look even more amazing, any of the metallics, when used with a setting spray. I'm already doing so much on my eyes, you guys. I just can't do that as well, so I apologize for that. Ooh, I love that. It's super like almost antique, like an antique-y shade. Next, onto the no primer lid. It's actually really not grabbing very much at all. So this, again, is going to be another shade where you're really going to want to invest in your primer. I am a little surprised that it didn't apply better on the dry eye, because honestly, like I said, I always use concealer and setting powder as my base, and I've used a lot of shimmer shades straight on top of that, and it usually pops a little bit more. So I'm a little surprised it doesn't pop more. It's just a little more dull, but the pigment is still there. It is a really pretty color. Next, we're back into one of the matte pigments. This is the shade T. And again, you know, risking sounding like a broken record, I'm really trying to focus on following how James Charles recommends using them by doing a pressing packing motion. Don't sweep them. And you can see right off the bat, it does look a little patchy, but he claims, and he is right, he's not wrong, that, you know, you don't just slap one shadow on and go. There is layering involved, you know, fusing and pressing that shade together. So I don't mind going in with a second layer to see if it gets better, and it is getting better. So there's one layer without the base, and it's definitely more sheer. This one is not near as patchy as 518 was. I actually really love the color without the thicker base under it. This got really cool toned and really deep espresso. This is still an espresso, but I feel like there's a hint of warmth in there. This obviously gives you the most depth and payoff, but the side without the primer, I actually don't mind. Jumping into the next row, we are going into this shade Punch Me. It's kind of like a peanut butter or like an almond butter shade. That's beautiful. That's a nice, soft, smooth transition color. And now, of course, on our dry lid without the base, let's pop that on. The tone is pretty much the same, but it's just not grabbing that center spot. However, the side with the base, I think, looks pretty great. The next shade we're going into is called Sister. Ooh, that's going on really nicely on the base side. Alert the sister sirens. I don't know. Do we have these? Is there something that we yell or, you know, scream into the universe and James Charles' ears just perks up and he goes, ah, the sisters are calling me. So of course, as we knew it would be, it's a little lackluster on the dry lid, which again is no big deal. Beautiful shine, a beautiful glow on the shade with an eyeshadow base. The next shade we are swatching is called Mary, and this is a matte shade again, and it's actually one of the colors I'm most excited for because I love this rosy tone. Again, starting with our primed lid first. Oh, I love this color. I mean, that is just gorgeous. Just absolutely gorgeous. Let's pop it onto the dry lid now. This one's, again, taking a little more packing to stick, but it's not as bad as 518. So far, 518 was definitely the trickiest one on a dry lid without a primer. They actually look relatively close to me. There's a little bit in the center where it's not grabbing on the dry lid, but it's definitely not as bad as 518 was, at least on the dry side. This looks great on both, in my opinion. It actually almost looks the exact same. The next shade we're trying is called Literally. Oh, this one's like weird. I love the color, but it kind of grabbed in certain areas a little funny. It's like kind of weird. I don't love this shade, which I'm sad because I love the color. It's like the shadow itself is bunching up funny in weird areas. Let's just go ahead and apply it to the dry eye and see if it goes on better over here. And it's non-existent on the no primer eye, just so you're aware. I'm gonna do one more layer. See, right there. Do you see how weird that is? There's like this huge empty gap and then the color is randomly there. It's just, this is not my favorite shadow whatsoever. This one is severely strange. The next shade is called You're Kidding. And I remember seeing this one in James Charles' video and I was like, wow, that is so red. I'm really excited to see how it goes on. So let's pop that right there. He wasn't kidding. It is super duper red. You can see it's not horrible, but with the concealer and the setting powder side, it is just not there. It is lackluster, it is patchy. It is not what you would expect from his arm swatch and his hand swatch. This is my second layer here, and it absolutely does not even compare to the side with the tacky base. It's not awful. It is not god-awful. But it's not this. It is not this boom, this loud cherry red. It is gorgeous. I don't hate the dry side, but I much, much, much prefer the side with the eyeshadow base. It makes all the difference in the world. The next shade we're going to try is called Shook, and I'm so excited for this color. I'm obsessed with anything with the word shook because, as you guys know, I won't shut up about it. I'm getting married next year, and my last name will be Shookla, and it feels so cool to have a last name with the word shook in it. Like, are you kidding me? I'm shook. So, oh, wow. Shook does have me shook. This is a beautiful cranberry, yummy, yummy shade. You know I'm not good at my color descriptions, but I can tell you, she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous. And now, of course, popping that on the drier side where we just have concealer and setting powder. Doing one more layer. It's not god-awful whatsoever. So here we have both the base side and the dry side. I mean, it's just goes without saying. The side with the eyeshadow base makes all the difference in the world. It's very, very beautiful. I love these types of colors, especially around this time of year. The next shade we're trying is called Boutique. Again, this looks like a SHAE shade. You guys know I love these deep browns. Popping that right on the lid with the base. Definitely pigmented right off the bat. And now, of course, the lid without the shadow base. Ooh, instantly patchy, very dry, very chalky, very weird. I'm gonna pack on one more layer. Yeah, it's just not good unless you have that tacky primer underneath it. It's a beautiful color and I don't hate it without the base, but it's just not as good as it could be. You know what I mean? So there is the shade Boutique. So next we are taking the matte shade Benny, starting off on our primed lid. Ooh, this is dark. Is this a black or just like an extremely dark brown? It's going on exceptionally well with the base. And of course now popping it onto the drier lid. Definitely not very great. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking like, duh, of course it's better with a primer. And yes, you are right. Like that's such an obvious thing. But to be honest myself, I mean, James Charles, he doesn't even believe in primer. So there are many of us who do just use the concealer and the setting powder for all of our looks. So I just think it's important to really highlight the fact that you do need a base for these shadows. He was absolutely correct in saying that. And I really appreciate that he said that. The next shade we are doing is Flashback. And this is the matte white shade. When I was watching James Charles' channel, I was just watching all his videos using this palette to try and get all the information I could and really understand the palette. I saw the video where he had other artists, which was really cool of him, do their looks using his palette. One of the creators said that this was one of the most pigmented whites he's ever used. I wouldn't go that far. It looks like a nice white, but I would not say it's the most pigmented I'd ever used. And now on the dry lid, of course. I know I sound like a broken record, but I just want you guys to know, even though I'm calling it the dry lid, it's not necessarily dry because we have concealer and setting powder. So there is somewhat of a base. It's just not tacky. Again, just patchy without primer. We already knew that was going to happen just based on all the other shadows. It's a decent white. The next shade we are trying is called Face. Let's go ahead and pop that on. Ooh, that packs a lot of shimmer. Very, very, very metallic. I really like this shade. You could do a lot of really beautiful, glamorous looks with a color like this. And now, of course, onto our other lid. It's very subtle. It's cute, but now it's just more subtle without that base. The difference between the two is really night and day, as you can see here. Of course, I prefer it with the base. You guys already know that. The next shade we're going to be swatching is called Tune. This looks like a nice matte yellow, like a butter yellow. Popping that right on the lid with our base. This is not, maybe it's just a strange color. It's a little chalky, I guess, is what I think is happening. It just feels super duper powdery and like not a ton of pigment. That looks decent, but even in the center of my lid, on the lid with the eyeshadow base, it's just not completely adhering. And honestly, the lid without the base is actually looking similar to the lid with the base. I see, of course, it's a little more vibrant with the base, but still, it's a little powdery. FYI, I've been meaning to say this whole video and I keep forgetting. If you like my lip color, it is ColourPop Cosmetics Dream Date Lippy Stick from the holiday collection. I've just been favoring it lately. It's a nice nude. Next, we're going into the shade Code James. I will say I do love how large these pan sizes are. And I'm, of course, unbelievably like over the moon excited about there being a large sized black eyeshadow because you guys know, honestly, my favorite color eyeshadow is black eyeshadow. I feel like it transforms looks for me all the time. So that's really exciting. I actually can't believe how pigmented this shadow is. This one is really, really, really nice. Again, I only noticed a slight difference on this eye where it didn't want to grab in the middle, and that's just because it's not super tacky. However, the pigmentation is there. It is a beautiful warm color. I will love to use this in looks. The next shade we're doing is 10% off. And of course, starting on our primed lid. Oh, mama, I love this color so much. I love a real red kind of dirty type of brown. And of course, popping some on the dry lid. Again, it's slightly patchy. It's not that bad, but it is slightly patchy. It's a little bit lighter without the base, of course, but I mean, you just can't go wrong with the side with the eyeshadow base. It is so pigmented. I don't see any patchiness. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful amount of color. I'm very happy with this shade. The next shade we're doing is No Beans. Ooh, it's a nice dark espresso. And now on the dry lid as well. And it's about, you know, exactly what we've been experiencing with the dry lid. It's fascinating how different the tone is when you use a tackier base, isn't it? It's like, I think it actually shows more true to color with a base than without. I have locked and loaded my face with setting powder because we're going to be doing the spooky shade now, which is the matte black eyeshadow. And it would be a real pain in the booty if this stained my face. So I'm going to go ahead and take that and pop that on the lid. That looks like a nice black. I mean, you definitely have to do a double layer because the base underneath the shadow kind of makes the black more blue. And that happens with black shadow, you know. Popping it on the dry lid, you can right away see how much it requires a base. I mean, the difference is unbelievable. I'm going to go in for one more layer. That's definitely deepening it, but it's just not the same, you know. It's just not as good. Love this black, though. You guys know I'm passionate about a black, so I'm really excited about this shadow. Next, we're doing the shade B. This is the yellow I'm really excited for. I can see where it's turning a bit. Do you see where it's, you know, kind of deeper right there in the crease, but then on the lid, it pops. So I wonder if I just go over that. Maybe it's just a back and forth layering type of situation. So much fallout with this one. How do I want to say this? It's pigmented, but it looks chalky as F. It doesn't look smooth. It looks patchy. I'm sad about this one. I was really excited for this yellow. Let's pop over onto the other side. This is just a no. And I'm not saying you won't be able to work with it. I imagine if you use this through the crease as like a transition color, it would be fine. All over the lid, it's not the prettiest yellow I have whatsoever. I don't know if you can tell right here, it looks a lot brighter than it does on other areas of the lid. And then of course you have that kind of weird band going through the center there. And then the other eye just looks dry and patchy and just not pigmented. This is not my favorite yellow. The next shade we're doing is Guac, and this looks gorgeous. You guys know me, I love a good green. Oh yes, this is what I wanted. This is so beautiful. It is so pigmented. Wow, I love that. And now some on the other lid. Again, it doesn't have quite as much of a pop, but I mean, yeah, it's pretty bland. It's pretty bland. It's pretty boring without the base. So there you have the shade Guac. I really love this color. The next shade we are trying is called Hello. Oh, hello, blue. This is another shadow that really stuck out to me in James' video where he had the 4 makeup artists do looks using his palette. There was, I can't remember his name, goodness forgive me, but one of the male makeup artists, he did a look like a blue smoky eye with this in the center, and it looked like it was like glowing, and it does kind of have that look, like it's so bright, but also light that it looks like it's glowing, and I think that is so cool. Just for shits and gigs, of course, on the dry eye. Again, I know I've said this 1 million times by now. I cannot stress enough how correct James Charles was in his method of using the shadows. It requires a tacky base. If you don't use a tacky base, you'll get this. If you use a nice tacky base, you'll get this. I only do my shadows with a base like this with concealer and setting powder, so it's a little funny that nothing is kind of grabbing to it very well. But if you have to use a shadow in a different way, I understand, and it does work that way. But I do, again, just want to say it is a little funny that you can only use it like this, can't use it like this, so I don't know. But there we have the shade Hello. Let me know what you guys think. The next shade we're doing is called Playground. Oh, wow. That is amazing. Goodness gracious. What a bright and pigmented blue. I'm extremely excited by this color. It's not absolutely terrible on the dry eye side. It's patchy, most definitely, but I like the color. I guess if you just wanted a light wash of this, you could probably achieve it that way. But if you want that pigment, you need that bold primer. I don't know when I would ever use this blue, but I'm a huge fan of it. Here is Playground. The next shade we're doing is called Brother. This is another blue I'm really excited for. Ooh, she is vibrant. I love the blue. I do notice that band forming in the crease. I don't know why we're seeing so much of that from brands lately. It's really, really strange. Now let's try it on the more dry lid. Same thing as it's been, just a little patchy, a little more sheer. All in all, I do love the color though. I would love to do a black smoky eye with this in the middle. It just sounds like, so nice. So there is the shade Brother. The next shade we're doing is called Artistry. This is another shade I've had my eye on this whole time. I've been so excited for. And I don't know why I've been excited because you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of purple. But something about this purple just looked like it glowed and like it was just magical. I think I really like that. It's not as deep or as rich as I was hoping for, but I will say like the foil of it or like the blue shine to it is really unique and really pretty. My eyelids are so raw right now, like you guys have no idea. So I of course don't expect it to be very good on the dry lid. especially because it's more of a shimmer metallic shade. Yeah, it's just like not even going on. When you swatch it on the finger, like, it is a really, really pretty shade. So even though it didn't work the best, I think if you used it wet, it would be super amazing and just beautiful, or on top of a black gel liner. The next shade we're doing is called Love That, and it is a matte shadow. I love this color. Oh, this is a SHAE shade, and it's going on beautifully with the primer. They definitely are more dry shadows. You totally feel the dryness when you're applying it, but again, as long as it's on that tacky base, you should be good. Now let's pop it on the no base lid. This one's not quite as streaky or as patchy. It is in some areas, but overall it's actually pretty decent. That actually went on very, very, very well, even without a base. I am super satisfied with that. I think that went on beautifully. I almost can't tell a difference between the two eyes, so the shadow Love That is seriously awesome. I love this color. Next, we're doing the shade Pinkity Drinkity. This looks like a yummy, bright bubblegum pink. It is a matte formula. I always want to try one of those Pinkity Drinkities, and then I'll get to Starbucks and I'm like, oh, fuck it, just give me coffee, please. I can't be bothered with this Pinkity Drinkity. Is there any caffeine in it? If there's no caffeine, I don't understand the point. Unless maybe you can't have caffeine, you're just not a caffeine kind of girl. But like, I get there and I'm like, I'm gonna get the Pinkity Drinkity, and then I'm like, oh, fuck it. No, coffee, baby, hand it over. I love it on the base side. Let's pop it on the non-primer side. Just so you guys know, my eyeballs are on fire. I love this color. I think that is a beautiful pink. To me, it's not patchy at all. It's a little chalky. It looks a little ashy almost. However, I think I could make do. I think it's a really pretty pink. It's obviously much better on the lid with the eyeshadow base, but I think it's super cute. We are finally on to the last row. Thank you, Jesus. My eyelids hurt so bad. We're going to go into the shade Social Blade, which is a matte lime green. Or is it more like a limey grass green? I think it's more grassy, limey grass. I love how bold it is. There is a ton of kickback, a ton of fallout. But again, if it's a beautiful shade, if it's pigmented, I really don't give a hoot about the fallout. That's just my personal, opinion. Pretty typical for what we've been seeing, just slightly patchy, a little lackluster. Oh, there we go. That extra layer made it a bit better, but it's still not grabbing in certain areas. It's just slightly more patchy. Obviously, the one with the base is much, much better. So there you have the shade Social Blade. I'm super excited for this next green called Daddy. It is a beautiful forest green. Oh my goodness. A little patchy. Not straight up like, whoa, that's so patchy, but like on the verge of. Let's go on to my concealer and setting powder lid. It's, of course, again, not quite as good as our based lid, but all things considered, it's not half bad. I've seen worse, okay? Next, we're doing the shade Cape Cod. Pop that right on the lid. Oh, that's pretty. It's kind of, oh, I like that. It's kind of like a muted, like grayish, not grayish, but you know what I'm talking about? I can't put it into words. I guess like a teal is what I'm looking for. But it's almost like a murky blue, you know what I mean? That's what I really like about it. It's like murky. It's like not too bright, it's not too dark. It's a cool shade of blue. Definitely more unique compared to some of the blues I have in my palettes now. Oh, this one's not going on the dry lid at all. Goodness, that is not a pretty sight. If we learned anything in this video, what did we learn? James Charles is right. You need to use a very tacky eyeshadow base. So there is the shade Cape Cod, and I'm obsessed. The next shade we are swatching is called Cola. Oh, wow. This looks like an amazing blue. It is so deep. Oh my goodness. That is an amazing blue. I love this blue. Let's try it on the drier lid. Gosh, the base makes all the difference in the world. In the world! Look how patchy that is. It's awful. I'm so glad he said that in his video because it makes a world of difference. Before we move on to the next shadow, I need to point something out to you guys. I don't know if you can tell, but there's like this red thing happening. My eye is so raw. I like want to be done so bad. This has been fun until these last few shades, and I'm telling you, it is the hardest thing I've ever had to do to keep going right now because my eyelids hurt so much. So this was a really hard video to do. If you guys could just give me a thumbs up and share this video, pass it around on Twitter, on Reddit, on Instagram, that would mean so much to me because I'm honestly about to cry. The next shade we are trying is called Acapella. Wow. These blues have really been the standout of the whole palette for me. I would buy this palette for the blue shadows specifically, as long as you use the right base. Again, just a little lackluster without a shadow primer on this side of the face, but I love it on the side with the base. I'm so sorry for all this fallout. Oh my gosh, I'm just a mess right now, but there is the shade Acapella. The next shade is called Escape. This looks like a nice royal purple. Ooh, and she's deep. Yeah, this bottom row is like where it's at for me personally. This is where all the fun shades are. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with Escape. That is such a beautiful, rich, grapey purple, like royal purple. I love it so much. Let's pop it on the dry lid. It's actually not too bad. Again, it's that same thing. We're right in the middle. It's not attaching perfectly. It's a beautiful color, but it's more of a sheer wash, whereas this is like bam, in your face. So I really love Escape. You just need that primer. Oh my gosh, I'm so sick of talking about the primer. I just can't stress it enough, but I love it on the nicely primed side of the eye. It's really, really pretty. So there is the shade Escape. Okay, last two shades. Let's do this. Let's do this. We are now doing the shade Single. Single's like a brighter purple compared to the previous one. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. I love this. Oh my god. Look at all that powder in my hair. I just want to go to bed, but I won't. I'll be up all night editing. I love this. It's so pigmented. It's so beautiful. Barney. It's kind of like a Barney purple. And of course on the dryer lid, it is what it has been, you guys. I'm not even going to repeat anything. You know what the deal is by now. Here is the shade Single. I love it on the primed side. It's a gorgeous, rich purple. Oh my gosh. I have never been so happy to be on the final shadow of anything in my entire life. So we are now going to do, oh my gosh, did we save the best for last or the most scandalous for last? I guess in this case, we are, oh, I didn't even set my fucking lid. So of course, naturally, we have saved the most scandalous eyeshadow for last. We're now going to be doing the shade Skip. This is the notorious shade that supposedly gave someone eye hives. Listen, I don't know. I feel for the girl if she got a hive on her lid, but there's not many pinks and purples or even blues that I've used that haven't stained my eyelids. And I'm sorry if that was upsetting to her, but just honestly, no comment. I just tried after this one all 36 eyeshadows on each one of my eyes. If this does not give me a hive, sorry chick, I think it's just your own personal allergy to something, because I've now almost tried every single one of these 36 shades on my eyelids by themselves. That is madness. So if I don't have hives, honey, I think it's personal. Let's now apply Skip. And don't worry, I will remove it before this video is done to see if it stains. I guess if you care that much, but again, I don't expect it to not stain. Do you see how freaking bright this pink is? If it didn't stain, I would be impressed. But if it does stain, it will be what is expected of a hot pink pressed pigment. And now onto the dry lid. Again, just patchy and lackluster, but whoa on that pink. Whoa on that pink! So here we have Skip. What do you guys think? I love it on the primed lid. It is so bright and fun and I think just absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to use this in a look. I'm gonna let it actually sit for a few minutes and then I'm going to remove it because I want to give it time to stain if that's what it's going to do. So I'm gonna wait about 10-15 minutes, if you can believe it, because it's already midnight, and then I'll be back to remove this and we will see if it's stained, because I guess that matters. Okay, oh my god, I want to be done. Okay, let's remove this. Let's see what all the hubbub is about. It's been about 15 minutes now. And again, like I was kind of explaining to you guys, my eyes are raw right now, so it might be hard to tell between a stain and just their raw. It's a little pink, but I guess you know what? I'm not a fair judge because my eyes have been pink. They've been so irritated from this crazy video that I just did. You know what? Don't get used to this double lid type of video because I'm not sure I can do this that many times again. I'm so afraid to go to bed because I know when I wake up, my eyes are going to be swollen shut. It happens every time I do live swatches. And now after this huge, ginormous amount of live swatches, it's going to be a nightmare for me. But they're a little pink. I can't say it's from the shadow. It might just be because this was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. This has been too long for you guys too, so let's wrap this up. Let's get this over with. All in all, I think it's a pretty decent palette. All of these shades, 36 of them to be exact. It's so fun to play with. You have everything from neutrals to brights. The only thing that I would take home from this whole entire video is exactly what James Charles already stated in his video, that you need to use the right primer with these. That is key. If you're not using the right primer, you're not gonna like it, and that's just how it is. I'm really glad we tried this out because I really enjoyed a lot of the shadows. Yes, they're more dry. Yes, they're a little chalky, but again, and this is no shade, it is a Morphe brushes palette. This is no Natasha Denona. Okay, this is no know. I don't even know what else. This is no Pat McGrath. It's not even any ColourPop, in my opinion. I would rank ColourPop higher than Morphe. It's not a personal hate thing. It's just that, I don't know, Morphe's Morphe. So if you're a Morphe fan, God bless you. I think you'll really love this. Just use the right base. If you're just a makeup lover in general, don't expect the world from this palette, but you get what you pay for and you can definitely make it work. There are some standout, beautiful, amazing shades. For example, like the blues, like the purples, those I think were home runs and they were gorgeous, and you could just have so much fun with this palette. So I definitely do recommend it if you're into playing with color. It's a great way to kind of get every color you need. So yeah, you guys, that is my final thoughts on the Morphe and James Charles palette. Let me know if you're gonna be picking this up, if you already did, and what you think about it. Also, don't forget to share my video on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. No hives. I'll update you by morning time, but right now, no hives. Thank you guys for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!